Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tommy, or T-Rex, whichever one you want to call me. And today I'm coming at you guys with a new type of video. Well, I mean, at this point, really, I guess every type of video is new. But this is a new type of video that I'm calling This Week in Music. Now, with this new series, I will be talking about the week in music as far as I have experienced it, as far as the big news that I have heard. So I'll be talking about news, I'll be talking about new releases, new announcements, and I'll be talking about new songs and albums that have come out and how I feel about them if I've listened to them. So yeah, you guys gotta understand that I work a full-time job. I try to stream at least 3 times a week, and I try to do these videos for you guys. So if I don't talk about something that you wanted me to talk about, that's probably because I just didn't have time to listen to it. But yeah, just know that I will be doing my best to cover as much stuff as possible and to listen to as much of this music as possible and to give you guys my best opinions about what's going on and to get you guys the best facts that I can as far as the more news portion of the show goes. Also, just realize that this series is going to be about stuff that interests me, so if there's some stuff out there that I really don't care about, then I'm probably not going to talk about it. And that's because this series is supposed to be about things that I care about and that I want to tell you guys about. But also, I want to keep you informed on what's going on in music. So, maybe if there's some huge industry news or something like that, or something crazy goes on with an artist, even if it's an artist that I don't particularly love, maybe I'll cover that. But for the most part, it'll be me talking about the week in music as I have experienced it and the things that I am into and what I think about them. So pretty much, I'll try and release these videos every Saturday or Sunday, pretty much every weekend, and it'll be talking about what happened in the week before, and I'll go through it kind of chronologically. So from Monday through Friday, what happened on those days that interest me, what new music came out, all that sort of stuff. So, to start off this past week, we had a new track by the Gorillaz called Pac-Man featuring Schoolboy Q. This track has a very classic Gorillaz kind of funky groove to it, with this kind of sedated vocals, singing in the chorus and the hook, and then the beat gets really spacey and kind of weird until it kind of comes back to normal and kind of back to that funk with a pretty fire and a pretty energetic verse from Schoolboy Q that I really enjoyed. I think it really put the icing on the cake of this track. It probably would have been fine without it, but adding Schoolboy Q and his verse onto this, I think really made it what it is. I'd say, it's a pretty good song, and if you enjoy the Gorillaz or if you enjoy Schoolboy Q, it's definitely worth a listen, and even if you don't, you might like it. I think it's a pretty good track. And next up, we have the J. Cole Lewis Street tracks titled The Climb Back and The Lion King on Ice. Yeah, I think these are both really good tracks. Like, really good. Like, I think this is some of the best J. Cole music that I have heard in a long time. The beat is good, the instrumental's good, the samples he uses on this sound really good. It all comes well together. And on top of that, J. Cole is rapping about important shit, and he's doing it with some of the best flows that I have ever heard, especially on The Climb Back. The Climb Back, his flow is insane. And then in the second verse, he switches up the flow a little bit, it goes a little bit faster, and it's still insane. J. Cole, if he can keep on pace with this album that's going to be releasing here soon, I think that J. Cole will have his best album ever on his hands. And next up, we have a new track by Chase B and Don Toliver featuring Gunna titled Cafeteria. Honestly, I think this is a super good track. It's got a very catchy hook from Don Toliver and pretty good verses from Don Toliver and Gunna on this one. And the beat by Chase B, and I think with the help of Mike Dean on that outro especially, is really good with these very thick 808s and these sort of video gamey synths going on in the background every once in a while. I really enjoyed this track, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from Chase B and Don Toliver. All right, and next we're moving on to the new albums that released this week that I personally take interest in. But before we talk about that, let's talk about Kanye's week a little bit, shall we? I mean, if you have been living under a rock, then you might not know this, but otherwise you probably do, that this week Kanye kind of went crazy on Twitter multiple times. He said things like telling his wife and his mother-in-law to come get him or to call him, basically seeming to challenge them. And then on a following night, he even tweeted that he has been trying to get a divorce from Kim for a while, and then he proceeded to call his mother-in-law, I believe in the same tweet, Chris Jung-un. So that's pretty interesting. He also said things like, my daughter will never be in Playboy, and he said that he tried to do a track with Lil Baby, but Lil Baby refused him, and he even called out Drake with a emoji. We're not really sure what that means. With all that being said, we all know that Kanye has mental health issues, and I think right now the biggest thing that we can all do is to just pray for him and to just send him our positive vibes and thoughts, and just to hope that he can overcome these things. And also, in the midst of all these crazy tweets from Kanye, we also found out that his new album will be releasing on Friday, July 24th. It's July 25th. There's no album. But we did just get some new album artwork, and here it is. Anyways, hopefully Kanye releases the album soon, and hopefully he gets the help he needs so that he can continue being the great artist and, I think, person that he is. Alright, and moving on, let's talk about some actual albums that did release this week. One big one out there is Taylor Swift's Folklore, which I honestly can't really talk about. I haven't listened to it myself, and I don't really plan on it unless I get a lot of you guys asking me to review it and give my thoughts on it. Then maybe I will, but to be honest, I'm not a big Taylor Swift fan. I did see that she had a feature on there from Bon Iver, and that looked pretty interesting, but I might check that track out, and I might check the album out, but as of right now, I'm not really feeling it. I'm in a very different place as to what kind of music I want to listen to right now, and that's the new Kanye album, damn it! Alright, and next up we have Logic's new album, No Pressure. Back when Logic was releasing mixtapes, I actually was a pretty big fan of him. I thought he held a lot of promise for what he could bring to the table for the hip-hop community and just for hip-hop in general, and I was really excited to see where his career was going to go once he started to release albums. Unfortunately, once he started releasing albums, I started liking him less and less and less. I kind of felt that his lyrics got a little corny, I think he got a little preachy, and I found him to start to be kind of hard to listen to. But nonetheless, I decided to give this album a shot, knowing that it was Logic's last piece of work before he was going to retire from hip-hop and move on to his career as a Twitch streamer, which is apparently a thing that he's doing now. And I gotta say, I'm actually kind of glad that I listened to this album. It's not terrible, it's not amazing, but honestly, I did enjoy listening through this album. It might be the only time that I do listen through it, but I think it was pretty solid. While it's not entirely void of corny lines, and I think there are some times where Logic is a little bit too obsessive about what his critics have to say about him, I think for the most part that is outshadowed by pretty good rapping, pretty good flows, and some pretty interesting lyrics. There's even a few moments on this album where Logic kind of reminds me of Kendrick Lamar with the way he's flowing, and I mean, that's really the biggest props that I can give a rapper. I've always felt, even when he was releasing albums that I didn't really like, I've always kind of felt that Logic had the chops and the talent in rapping. I always thought that he could be one of the best rappers and that he has the ability to flow with the best of them. It was just the kind of content of his music that was holding me back from really loving it. But I gotta say, overall, I did enjoy this album. Like I said, it's probably going to be the last time that I listen to it. I might pick out a couple of tracks in here and throw them into a playlist. However, as far as re-listening to the album in its entirety, I'll probably leave it to the one time. And lastly is the new album by Gunna, Wanna. You know, this album is pretty much what you'd expect from an artist like Gunna. It has very spacey trap beats with the typical sort of mumble rap flow and really catchy hooks all throughout the album. I gotta say, I was actually pretty surprised as to how much I liked this thing. I only really expected to really love the tracks with features on it, such as Dollars on My Head and One Watch with Young Thug, or Cooler Than a Bitch with Roddy Ricch on it. But while these tracks were probably the highlight for me, Gunna still honestly managed to carry his own on the tracks that he was by himself on, and do a pretty good job of keeping the album interesting and entertaining throughout. Overall, I did really enjoy this album, and if you like that sort of music, you like that sort of trap music, you enjoy artists like Gunna or Young Thug or Roddy Ricch, I think this is definitely worth a listen, and definitely worth throwing a few songs in your party or hype playlist or whatever. Anyways, that's it for me, guys. I know there's probably some things that I missed that you really wanted to hear me talk about, but if that's the case, let me know in the comments down below, and perhaps I will talk about them one day. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, I stream on Twitch at least 3 times a week. I got the link down in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time.